Zombies! Parsifal exclaimed, realizing that the figures shambling towards them were undead and not tired and smelly travellers. I'm going to try something, said Sister Silvara as she pulled out a holy symbol and started chanting until it began to glow. The zombies stopped advancing and stood around like they were waiting for a carriage to come and pick them up. Well, that was a little underwhelming, said Darren. Yeah, needs work. I've seen it make them run away or even explode when more experienced priests do it. As soon as we hit them, it'll just break the spell, Sister Silvara said ponderously. How long will they stay like that? Asked Darren. Only a few minutes, so let's consider how we will deal with them quickly, informed Silvara. Well, according to the monster book I read in the library back at the Order's headquarters, they're pretty slow but very strong. They don't react to pain like most other opponents would. Maybe the key is doing damage to the head, but maybe it's just doing a lot of damage. There were conflicting theories on that bit. Maybe the newer versions have clarified this. Why are you reading the old version if there's a more up-to-date one available? Is it restricted to your rank within the Order or something? Inquired Mattis. No, it's not restricted. I just like the art style better in the older editions, replied Parsifal. The others exchanged confused looks, but were unsure what to say in response to this. Anyway, this is slightly time-sensitive. I believe it would be in our best interests for us to break the spell to start the fight on our own terms. If we back up a little, the sister and I could ready our shield and prepare to receive the attack. I saw Darren has a bow. I think if he shoots arrows at them at the same time as Mattis blasts them with spells, we will be able to shift the odds a little. Once they engage us, Darren can switch back to using his sword. We can hold them whilst he switches, advised Parsifal. Everyone nodded their agreements and got into position to execute his plan. The arrows and spells started flying. At first impact, the zombies started shambling in a menacing manner, arms raised. The barrage of spells and arrows felled one zombie before it could reach the party, because a quick slash of Parsifal's sword dispatched the second one that had been wounded from range. Darren spent a moment stashing his bow before switching to sword and shield, moving in to assist in the melee. The zombies were frequently attempting to grab hold of the party members to chew on them. Darren had the idea of trying to disarm one of the opponents. Literally. The semi-decayed nature of the zombie body made a clean cut possible. Unfortunately, when the arm landed, it started dragging itself back towards the battle to assist in the attack. Mattis saw the arm coming and stamped down on the forearm, pinning it to the ground. He then used the dagger in his hand to deliver a rapid series of stabs until it stopped moving. This momentarily distracted Sister Silvara while she was checking on what was happening with the animated limb. She nearly missed a big zombie punch coming in from the left side of her head, but at the last moment she ducked under it with a shield above her head and, with a hard sweeping blow of her mace, smashed both of the zombie's knees, knocking it to the ground as its legs lost all structural integrity. Back up, she shouted authoritatively. The party complied with her request. The zombie with non-functioning legs did its best to pull itself forward with its arms, still determined to eat the warm-blooded snacks. But the backing up had given Mattis a clean line of sight, and he used the opportunity to blast it with a spell, finishing it off. Mattis was feeling spent after this and let the party members know that he would not be using any more spells for the duration of the fight. The party were able to finish the remaining two zombies off in short order. They just could not stand up to the sustained sword and mace blows they were taking. Once the zombies were dealt with, the party took a moment to catch their breath and assess their level of injuries. Everyone had taken some amount of damage from the fight and were filthy. Probably better not to know the exact composition of the dirt and grime covering them. Sister Silvara performed some basic healing on all party members, and then they set off in the dark for Orton. It was only about 20 minutes of travel until they reached the gates. At the gates of Orton, they were stopped by the guards in the towers. "We don't want any more of you filthy beggars tonight. We're full. Come back tomorrow. There'll be more bread then," they said dismissively. The party looked at each other confused for a moment. Darren said confidently to his companions, "I've got this." "Listen up. I'm Darren Dahl of the King's Officer Corps. My companions and I have been tasked by Lord Furion to come to your town and speak to the commanding officer, Captain Reginald Borenstall, about delays in situation reports. I suggest you open the gates unless you want to be reassigned to sanitation, Darren said in a commanding voice. The guards muttered to each other for a few moments, then said, "Sorry, sir, misunderstanding, opening up for you now." The party entered and went in search of an inn. They found one, but there was an armed guard at the front door with an unsheathed sword who said, "We don't want any troublemakers. Move along." Parsifal explained to the guard that they were simply travellers looking for a hot meal and a room. Mattis assisted by pulling out a silver coin from his purse and handing it to the guard. They were admitted to the inn and organised a room for the night. After cleaning up, they headed back downstairs and ate the hot meal they were after, some sort of thick stew, before turning in early for a good night's sleep. The next morning, they went in search of the captain. Asking around town, they eventually found where his office was located and went to visit him. On the way past the market square, it was observed that there was a commotion at the baker's cart. Some people were shouting angrily about the fact that he had run out of bread already, and was threatening to turn into a violent brawl, when a number of town guards arrived just in time to break it up. Thankfully, they did not need to get involved to break up the brawl, so the party just continued on to the captain's office. When they arrived at their destination, the guard that had been in the tower the previous evening, who had told him to go away, had been put on reception desk duty. Not wanting to get in trouble with the captain again, he quickly made the announcement to the captain, who, expecting the visit, came out to welcome the party members, showing them into his office. Following the captain into his office, they saw he had a large desk that was mostly cluttered with stacks of what they presumed were reports. The only clear spot was his writing area, equipped with an adjustable paper rest, a good assortment of inks and pens, and a lamp that, instead of having a place for a candle or an oil reserve and wick assembly, had a white rock in the middle of it. Noticing Mattis staring at the lamp, the captain spoke. "Ah, do you like my lamp? It was a gift from Lord Furion long ago when I was first promoted to captain. He said it would help me with my reports. Watch this." The captain gave 2 quick claps and the lamp illuminated. The white rock was some sort of magical item that emitted a strong, pure white glow. The mirror shroud focused the rock's light onto the writing area. "I have to get one of those," Mattis thought out loud. They moved away from the desk into a comfortable seating area to talk. "Let me introduce myself properly," said the captain. "My name is Captain Reginald Borenstall. I graduated from the King's Officer School in the same class as Lord Furion. We became lifelong friends. As you can see, he was much luckier in the hair department than me," the captain began. "I started my studies at the officer school a few years later than the average starting age for most of the other students. I am from a very minor noble house and was the 3rd son. Since we didn't have enough peasant labour to work the fields, I was stuck doing that instead of training at officer school. When I finally got to officer school, the other nobles would pick on me because my family was not as rich or influential as theirs. Everyone except for Furion, that is. He was different to the rest. I think that's why the common folk respect him more than most of the other nobles, and why he is the perfect choice to help get the kingdom back on its feet," the captain concluded. "Oh, and before you ask, I know the reports he requested are overdue. You see, I have no way of getting the reports back to him. All my men are tied up, keeping peace in the town with the waves of refugees we keep receiving, or guarding the town against zombie attack. Look at my desk. Every day I get piles of reports like those on the table there about problems in surrounding villages and settlements that require assistance. I even sent a request for help to Melford, but they're dealing with their own issues and can't spare anyone either," the captain complained. "Sounds tough," said Darren. "How can we assist?" "You're right, it is tough. However, this appears to be the perfect opportunity to solve a few problems. Furion is right to send someone capable. I know he will not have received additional troops from the king, and he needs the few he still has at Springview for his people's militia project," the captain said, clearly relieved to have been provided with some form of assistance, even if unconventional in nature. Breaking into a smile, the captain continued, "My report is written. You could take it straight back to Furion now. It'll complete his request. But that does little to help the situation, and I have a feeling that is why you were really sent, not just to collect and deliver some mail." After a short pause, he continued, Going to Melford and getting a report from there would give a more complete picture of the region's problems for Furion. This is preferable. But if you could then also assist them with their problems, maybe that would free up some resources that could help us here. There were nods of agreement. From what Furion said in the meeting, this did seem a more fitting use of the party's time, and probably what Furion had in mind in the first place when he sent them to investigate. The captain seemed pleased that the party was on board with doing some additional investigation. His smile grew somewhat, and he leant forward, his voice taking on an almost conspiratorial tone as he continued to speak. Now, the interesting part. I know only one of you is officially part of the Hirakithian military. The rest of you seem to have been effectively deputized for this specific task by Furion, but you are still private citizens, and first and foremost adventurers. So I have something that I can offer you, off the books so to speak. Whilst it'll also potentially help us here in Orton, I can't order anyone to do it. Are you interested? The captain inquired. Okay, tell us more, said Mattis. There is a boy that works in the stables who is from a small village about an hour from here who says that something is going on at the nearby abandoned Mallard farmhouse, and that the zombies that have overrun the area seem to have come from that direction originally. You can probably hire him as a guide for a small fee. He seems like a good kid, the captain said. The farm was declared abandoned some years ago. The deed to the farm is held here in Orton. I can have it transferred to you as a reward if you can investigate and find the source of the zombie problem, concluded the captain. This sounds acceptable, said Sister Silvara. We will go and talk to the stable hand now and see what he knows. The party stood up and left the captain's office.